Okay. So this particular module is for week 4. So this is entitled Sequential Code Structure and Coding Guidelines. So let me give you the different section of the module. So when you develop a module for your students, you must first give them the overview of the topics that they need to uh, undergo in this particular module. So then you need to describe or provide some objectives so that they can have an idea kung ano yung mga pagdadaanan nila. So, for example, I have these several objectives, and part of the module is to give them the idea of the topics that you would like them to know. So, in this particular section, we have topic outline. So, we have subtopics of this module. So, we have several topics here. And also, to address the different types of learners, we have the remote online learners, we have the remote print, and we have the blended, because not all of our students can access the internet all the time. So in this particular module, if there are several activities and things that they need to comply, for remote online learners, they must access their materials online through Google Classroom, and if they uh, if they accomplish the certain task, so they must attach it to Classroom or the LMS, or they can send it to my email, or they can uh, send it to my FB account, so if possible. And also, uh, for remote print learners, so since they don't have internet connection, so they must be provided with the print materials and visit the school to get their materials. And for submission of their activities, they have to provide some printed output, and uh, they have to drop it out from our school or to the institution for them to be able to submit. And for blended learners, so they can access the materials uh, uh, to Classroom, or they can access the videos uh, that supports the materials for this module. Okay. So the next section of this topic, of this module, is the topics discussion. So this is the content of the module. So you must give them an idea uh, based on the objectives, and also in developing your module, you must provide some figures and uh, other objects, so that some of my students, or some of the students kasi, they can access it and they can actually read it in a faster manner. Kaya lang, the problem is the comprehension part. So when they read your materials, sometimes hindi nila masyadong naiintindihan kasi more on text. So you need to compensate with objects, so that the first thing that they need to understand in your module is the objects and transform it into ideas. So as you notice, I have several objects here, some figures, the discussion, to support the materials. So you must provide some several real world scenarios to be able to engage students in your module. Okay. Although this is a blended or print output, so the engagement of your students must be intact with your document. Kasi this material is your bridge between you and your students. So you have to keep them engaged into your module. Okay, so I have your flowchart, etc., sample code that supports the uh, discussion on how they will apply the sample material or the sample program. So, examples are also provided, and different, for example, in a certain topic of mine, I have these different types of structure or selection structure. I also provide different presentation para yung hindi sila maboard sa module. So, as you can see, I have different 3 columns that provides enough detail about the different sub section of selection structure. And then, aside from that, so I also provide some features that uh, coming from the internet, which is I created a parang credit doon sa author. And then, materials, supplementary materials in case doon sa mga blended learners and online learners, so they can access it on their own computers. So I have provided the supplementary materials, videos, or materials. And learning activities, so you need to provide activities like quiz, and you need to target the basic uh, foundation of the learners that they need to adapt, understanding, applying, analyzing, and so on. So, and then part of my module is the assignment or set work that they need to answer. For example, when they done with the assignment or set work, so I have attached a instruction on how to submit, what particular file name that they need to name their file, how to, when this file will be submitted, like Google Classroom, what format, Facebook, what kind of format, or drop-off station, or location. And this module also contains the laboratory works so that they need to perform with their own computer to apply their learnings. So I also have some instructions on how to submit, if this is a group, or if I also provide some instruction of the requirements, they need to finish at least 2, etc. From 3 problems. So also there are 3 problems that I incorporate here, so they must choose only 2. So also, in order for them to have an idea of their submissions, sometimes students neglect some consideration with their work. Sometimes what they do is they just create a program, submit. So providing them with these rubrics allows them to have an idea how am I going to check their work. So for example, there are criteria that they need to consider para yung kanilang paggawa ng activities, may, kahit wala ako, nag-guide sila kung ano mga dapat nilang i-consider. So, for example, this is an example, rubrics, assessment rubric for programming. And of course, the references for your material. So, yun. That's all po.